Hello there, dear hearts, sacred hearts of the Sacred Heart Awakenings Facebook group. This is Monica Bermudez, Intuitive Quantum Energy Healer, and welcome to those who may be watching this on YouTube, called my Love Wisdom with Monica channel on my YouTube channel, as I do live every week on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, through my Facebook group, the Sacred Heart Awakenings. Is a public open group, and you can find the link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. And for those watching, thank you for being live, and feel free to share the message for this week of love, wisdom, intuitive download that I was feeling called to share with the group is related to your quantum energy field. And we're going to talk about your cell's memory and related to this whole quantum energy field, as well as the ancient civilizations and a very common pattern theme that seems to be triggered and coming up at this time with the changing energies of intensity, of chaos, and because there's a lot of chaos going on right now. Everything from the people and what's been happening around the world. So it's stirring some of this cellular memory from these past lives. So we're going to talk about this whole thing with reincarnation and karma, etc., in this love wisdom message. And so just think about, reflect on this principle, universal principle of correspondence, which is an ancient information, in ancient knowledge, wisdom transferred through time, and the most common place that it's been transferred through is known as the Hermetic philosophy, or also called the Kybalion. And one of their principles, they have about 7 principles of the universe. One of them is known as the principle of correspondence, which says, as above, so below, and as below, so above. And so when we look at our cellular structure, for instance, that's like a mini microcosm to the greater macrocosm. So microcosm to the macrocosm. So that's really what the principle of correspondence is. So what this means is that as each individual cell within our body forms our whole body, right? In itself, they have their own conscious awareness as well. They're very much alive, so they can be like their own little tiny bodies themselves, but when they all come together, they form our human body. And so they are meant to work in harmony, in unison, and at this vibrational energy of love. And love is the frequency, and joy being the force of love, also the highest vibrational energy of love, is what really keeps them harmonized. So that's a very important key to keep in mind. So you can think of us now, look at each and every one of the human beings in this world on earth, right? When you put all of them together, you can think of them as being like cells, and we are part of many cells forming the entire universal body. And so then you can look at it from a microcosm to a macrocosm. And so just like the cell itself can be its own universe, so can we as human beings be our own universe as well. Hi there, Shahrasad. Welcome. So nice to see you live. And so just know that this correlation of the correspondence of the principle of the Hermetic philosophy that I was mentioning earlier is how it works with that. And so let's look at now at each one of the cells in our body, and they also form in parts of our organs, our major organs, like the heart chakra, the solar plexus chakra, and all the other chakra systems as well. And so with that, they form their own energy field, of quantum energy field in itself, and they pulsate at their own frequency and their own energy. And so I am also receiving intuitively message how the heart energy itself, the heart chakra, also sends out these connections to each and every one of the cells in our body, because each and every one of the cells in our body also have their own little heart center and pulsating heart beat that beats at the rhythm of the heart. So when we are out of balance or out of, feeling overwhelmed or feeling a bit, burnt out, then of course, these cells will feel like exhausted and tiring, and so this can also bring about disease. Well, disease is a form of the body being in disharmony. So the cells, themselves are not in an alignment or in a harmonic way. And so when we have had, this also scientific studies have shown that the cells do have memory also. So that's what scientists are finding about them as well. So because, they have this heart center themselves, they also store their own wisdom and knowledge that's been carried over from the many human lifetimes that you've had on this planet and beyond that. And so they carry, like for instance, if there's been certain trauma from these past lives, they will be still carried over in the different human bodies that you incarnate into, because this goes beyond the physical. So there is a quantum space within the cells that is beyond the physical, and that also causes this distorted energy to be stuck in there, in those cellular memory. So I don't know if this is all making sense to you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in it. But I do, felt like this is a very important message to share, because now this is leading up to the common thread, the common pattern that I've been seeing and noticing and feeling from the collective energy of humanity, is that because of this whole thing with the pandemic that started, last year, and all the chaos of the energy, not knowing where things are going and what is, occurring at this time, seems like things are coming to an end, and the way that we used to do things is not the same anymore. So then things have changed drastically in our life, what people will call the new normal. And so we're not really going back to this normal way as like before 2020, and we are being moved into this very intense energy of this new way of being with considering the circumstances around the world. And then we have all these weather changes as well, and where we are all adjusting ourselves. So it just can feel a bit of the end of the world, traumatic type energy, because and part of our cellular memory of structure that there is a connection with ancient civilizations that we may not necessarily remember in our human forms, but the cells do remember some of that. And so with all of these changes occurring, that energy in those cell memories have been triggered. And so then it causes this panic in the collective energy of humanity, because many have been through these past civilizations that have fallen, like for example, like Atlantis, when it went into corruption and it collapsed, when Lemuria collapsed. And so that seeing that is very traumatic for anyone if you see certain continents fall down. And so whether this may be your first time listening or hearing about these ancient civilizations, this may be part of something that will also trigger some form of awakening. But these civilizations did exist, and they are very much a part of us. And when we are in this 3D world of ourselves, a human form, we have forgotten a lot of that because of the veil. But the veil is already becoming very thin, and we are waking up into ourselves, into our soul self of ourselves, who we really are, this powerhouse of this creative energy force of, being. The soul is very powerful itself. And so we are now starting to see that in us, that we're just more than this physical body itself. We're experiencing this human life experience itself. It has, many challenges on its own, but this is part of the lesson that we come to learn here on this earth. And we're all in this together. So Sharsat says, when we get sick, some of our cells get out of energy harmony. Yes, that's right. They do just fall out of balance. And so energetically speaking, and that energy itself can also affect our, health in a physical way too. And, studies have shown that as well. So for instance, like I have talked in previous messages about the heart chakra area, how when, a relationship has ended, or, there's been a loss, major loss or change in our life that can cause certain heartbreaks. And there is a certain scientific term that is used that is actually means brokenhearted, because literally when we get into this depressive mode of energy, it does really affect the heart in a big way. So when that happens, so in expanding on this, now that you reminded me of this, so thank you so much for that, is that also resonates and reverberates throughout the entire human cells of the body, and they all feel that energy of depression, just to use that as an example. And so that will definitely lower the energy and the vibration of the quantum energy field around us. And it will make us feel stuck and in this, not well at all. And so I hear, what do we do then when we're feeling this down, when we're feeling so unhealthy and so unbalanced? So my number one thing to do, if you're able to, is to be able to be out in nature and hanging out with the trees and the flowers, the gardens, just taking a sniff of a flower, for instance, can uplift you in ways that are unimaginable. And especially the rose, which is much better for, which actually has a higher frequency that does support the heart in a healing way. And so that also, resonates right throughout your whole body and all your cells and everything as well, with anything that you do, like just walking out in nature and walking out and just smelling, such beautiful smells and scents like the rose do impact your body system as well, because everything is energy. We are completely made of energy. Everything around us is energy. Everything vibrates in its own way, and it has its own unique frequency. Even our own interaction with one another is having some form of energy interaction with one another as well. And so what I found, is that when we really work on ourselves in this energy level, whether that be meditating out in nature, is that it really does help clear and transmute any form of depression or grief that we are finding ourselves at this time when it comes to change, because change can trigger a lot of that as well. And so that's, another common theme is that when a change occurs, it causes a bit of a panic in our body. And so we just want to break away and just not be in our body when it just gets so painful. And so I've been through that pain myself, where it could just, if you're going through some form of emotional pain, it almost feels like you don't want to be in your physical body either anymore. And so the best and fastest way to get yourself back into your own body is to be out in nature and to ground with Mother Earth itself and bring yourself back. And that itself, nature helps with processing and filtering any of this, lower vibrational energy as well. And that's what Mother Earth is also supportive of. And So, always, like, for example, when you're doing some form of grounding with Mother Earth through your own cord that connects to her ground, where you're pretty much dumping this energy that you no longer need or want, any lower vibrational energy, always give gratitude and thanks to Mother Earth with such appreciation. And so always bring in that energy of gratitude also is very important to change, some of your own heart set. I say, because people say mindset, so I say heart set, meaning changing your heart set into a different way of feeling into a higher vibrational energy and connecting more with your own higher self. So these are, high vibes type of techniques to do when you are feeling into this mode. But yes, so then the quantum energy field does also get impacted, whether it's the trauma or whether it's something positive. So we want to now, wanted to share this message so that, because when we work on ourselves individually, it's also impacting the quantum energy field that's, those who are near you, those in your community, your family nucleus, and then that all has this domino effect that just goes, throughout the world, and then everybody just feels this energy of this quantum effects itself. So it is very important that you take the time to yourself and get the healing that you need, your energy healing, to rebalance yourself as much as you can, to send out as much, positive vibe and loving energy to the world, and, as much as possible to help uplift this, Earth, Mother Earth, and also humanity and all its beings, with all the chaos and the energy that is happening. And as you do that, as you send out, your most positive vibes and waves of energy, of love to humanity, you're also receiving it to yourself too, because you are a part of humanity. And so, like I was describing earlier, as being one of the cells for the greater collective humanity body of, collective unison of all the cells that we are. Because the more of us that come together, the stronger the energy that we can really shift this planet to be into a greater ascension. And in doing so, it also supports your own ascension to jump at a very quantum leap and level. So this is very important that we really look into this within ourselves, do the inner work of our energy work first, right? That's where it all starts. And really try to work on yourself for the greater good of all. And from there, share some of this magic and this energy and this work that you do on yourself with others. Because the more that we come together, the much faster rate at a quantum energy, which means at an accelerated level, can we all quantum leap into this ascension energy of this fifth dimension that we're all heading towards right now. Because that's really what's been happening with the planet. And Mother Earth definitely does need our support more than ever, because she's definitely going through her own changes as well, as you can see from some of the weather changes and the weather patterns happening. She's also releasing some old trauma that she's been carrying for a while. And if you think about all the wars that have occurred on the lands, she also has, the memory of her own cells, of her own earth, territory through the ley lines and the grid systems. They all carry certain memories, and that includes some of this traumatic memory as well. And so a lot of that's being released and removed with certain layers. And just as she's going through these layers of, stuff coming up, the same is happening for us as well. So she's shaking, certain parts of her are shaking like little earthquakes. And some of us are also shaking with our own little mini earthquakes inside of us that is causing, this massive awakening as well, to wake up and to really see that we are just, these spiritual, multidimensional, powerful beings, and we can surpass this physical reality and this physical form that we are. And doesn't mean that you're going to stop being human once you ascend, because you're still going to be human, but you're going to be in a higher vibrational frequency of energy and know how to balance those energy. Is going into this mastership or mastery of the self. So I hope this message has been helpful. Feel free to share any of your comments below. And if there's anything that I can do for you, feel free to reach out to me as well. And I look forward to connecting with you in the next love wisdom message that wants to come through. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and like and share. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Sending you all so much love.